Okay, so I've had a couple of drinks, but try to bear with me because I've been meaning to make this video for a while now, so hopefully I don't sound like a drunken idiot too much. I've sort of talked about this topic on my channel before, but I feel like this sort of deserves its very own video. So this is a game, it's called RuneScape, it's an MMORPG. If you haven't heard of it, I'd be very surprised because it was quite popular in the early 2000s and it's an MMORPG kind of similar to World of Warcraft, but instead of having a billion hotkeys on the screen or hotbar or whatever the fuck you call it, this one was a point and click sort of game. It's a game with the knights and wizards and shit. It's an MMORPG. Like I don't think I have to explain what the fucking like what is a typical MMORPG because I'm sure you can articulate what the typical MMORPG is. It's usually in a medieval setting, which RuneScape is set in. But the one that I specifically play is old school RuneScape, and most people when they play this game, they usually do quests, bosses. You get the picture. And although I do like a good boss every now and then, that's pretty fun for me sometimes, but there's a very small subsection in the old school RuneScape community, which is the free to play community. Because you see, although you can play old school RuneScape for free, you could also purchase membership that unlocks more content and more skills to level up. And although I've had my fair share of experience with the membership, recently I've made a free to play only account, just seeing how far I can progress with just playing on free to play only, because in some ways, membership or pay to play as they call it, in some ways it's sort of easy scape, and although that's not the main reason why I've been playing free to play RuneScape, it's certainly a factor to consider because when you see a free to play player get, say, 99 woodcutting, I'd like to imagine that it's more impressive in free to play versus in pay to play, because in pay to play, when you train your skills, there tends to be methods that are faster in terms of gaining experience points and shit like that. Pay to play is generally faster, but that's not my main reason of playing free to play. I don't really play free to play for the flex of it, really. My reason in particular is I just really don't feel like spending money, and the content that I happen to enjoy the most, well, you don't need membership at all to play it, which is chopping trees in Draynor village and then storing it in the bank nearby. It sounds fucking stupid when I word it like that, but I think this sort of content is arguably more meaningful and more fun than any other boss in this game or any other content in general. And here's why, right? So, the place where I like to chop these so-called trees is in an area called Draynor Village, specifically in World 301, because you see in RuneScape there's different servers that you can join. The server that you play on, it doesn't really matter generally because you can just change servers in a click of a button. But one world in particular that I hang out in the most is World 301. It's the most popular free to play world. It's where everyone hangs out pretty much, and 90% of the time it's gonna be crowded as fuck. And so, while chopping away at Draynor Village with all of these motherfuckers, you will always notice the same 10 people just chopping trees regularly. It's sort of its own community in a way. It's a very niche community that, yeah, it seems like no one really talks about, because you see when people post on the old school RuneScape subreddit, they generally tend to talk about members' content like bossing raids. I mean, not that there's no bosses in free-to-play, like there is, but there's definitely way more in pay-to-play. So I guess that's why I never really related much to the subreddit that much, because they generally talk about shit that I don't really give a fuck about. No one's talking about Draynor Village, World 301, and all of the wacky characters that you can meet along the way. I mean, fuck, man, I'll be honest, if Draynor Village didn't exist in RuneScape, I probably wouldn't play that game anymore. 90% of the time when I play RuneScape, it's always in Draynor Village, just because of all of the schizo people that you can meet on there. 90% of the time, there's almost always going to be an argument going on, whether it's about religion, politics, vaccines, or just schizo topics in general that just gives this little virtual world so much life. It's pretty much, it's my third space. It's the introverts nightclub. One recurring character that I seem to witness a lot is this guy called Sora00112, or whatever the fuck his username was. I could have got his username completely wrong, but that was one of the many names that he's gone by, although I'm pretty sure that account in particular is banned by now. He was some schizo Draynor dude who would play RuneScape for like 16 hours per day or some shit like that. Yeah, he would always be in Draynor a lot, and he would spout some schizo shit, mainly about the topics that I just mentioned before, like politics and fucking Donald Trump. He loved talking about Donald Trump a lot. He fucking hates Donald Trump with a passion. I mean, part of me thinks he's just fucking trolling, but I mean, if he is, it's a pretty fucking good troll, because pretty much everyone in Draynor Village knows who he is. Like, if you were to log onto old school RuneScape right now and go to Draynor Village in World 301 and yeah, just ask around, hey guys, have you seen Sora around? Is he, like, have you guys seen him? And I fucking guarantee you, at least one person will recognize who he is. He's sort of become a household name in Draynor Village. It's actually fucking insane. Like, I don't know what username that he currently goes by. The last name that I recall that he went by was Biden 1. Like, that was literally his, like, one of his accounts at some point, or Trump lost, like something like that. I don't remember the exact name, but it was something to do with fucking Biden or Donald Trump. Another zany character that I've encountered was this guy called Seeing Jesus, and he's not as schizo as Sora, but he's certainly a memorable character that frequents Draynor a lot. I mean, to be honest, I'm surprised that I haven't became a household name, because I hang out in Draynor Village a lot, but maybe I haven't become well known because I usually keep to myself and I generally don't like arguing. I'm not saying I don't argue at all, don't get me wrong, I love me a good RuneScape argument every now and then. I mean, part of the fun that comes from old school RuneScape is having the ability to talk shit to people, but, you know, unfortunately I have been muted before for saying nigger a couple of times, although that wasn't in Draynor Village, that was in a Barbarian Village, which is a different area. But Barbarian Village, it's pretty much the same as Draynor Village, but the only difference is, instead of cutting trees, it's fishing for salmon and trout. So it's essentially Draynor Village 2.0, in a sense. And again, if you want to sort of experience what I've experienced in Barbarian Village, you have to be in World 301. Like I can't stress that enough. I think if you're playing RuneScape in a dead, Australian world, for example, you're missing out on a lot. Like, don't just... Basically, none of the other servers matter. If you're new to old school RuneScape, I'm fucking begging you, just stay at W301, man, because you can meet all sorts of batshit insane people. It's so fucking good. You know, some people, when they talk about their hobbies, they usually have typical hobbies like hiking, making music, fucking exercise. All of those hobbies are completely valid, but my hobby lately has been logging into Draynor village and just watching people argue. It's like watching the fucking radio. It's like watching a live podcast or something. And although it's not audio, like, even though it's text only, it still feels like a radio show nonetheless, even though it's text only. Although there is a RuneLite plugin called text to speech, and it sounds exactly what it sounds like. You enable it, and then whenever someone talks in game, it plays a text to speech robot voice of whatever the fuck they said. Like, if you're a frequent user of Draynor Village, like, this plugin, it's essential, and it makes the whole experience a lot more funnier. Now, let's see, I'm trying to think of other notable characters that I've noticed over the years. Oh yeah, well, there was this one woman that I encountered a few years ago. Her name was Yes Izzy Died. She was a hardcore Iron Man. And I don't remember her personality fully, but I do remember that she apparently lived in Sydney. I probably shouldn't say what suburb specifically, but if I recall correctly, she lived quite close to me at the time, apparently. I'm not 100% sure because this was a few years ago, but I've always thought that was such a mindfuck to me. Like, to think that someone from Draynor Village was that close to me, IRL. But anyway, so the whole story with Yes Izzy Died, I do seem to recall, you know, sometimes people would pick on her, but when people told her to leave, like, oh yeah, Izzy, you don't have to deal with this shit, just hop worlds, Izzy. Yeah, I remember her just not wanting to hop worlds at all, which I can't blame her. I mean, World 301 is fucking lit. I'd fucking hang out in there even if I was getting bullied. Like, I would rather get bullied than play in a dead world with like 5 people on it. And I do seem to recall her having some sort of beef with this other user called Mentors. It was like its own saga, almost. The Izzy versus Mentors fucking saga. I wish I could remember more about what happened between those two, but I just can't remember anything about it, because this was so many years ago. Fuck, man. Yeah, I'm really grateful for fucking this game, because I've never witnessed this dynamic in any other MMORPG ever, or let alone any other game in general. I can maybe see this sort of thing happening in a game like VR Chat or something, but with old school RuneScape, like, they really nailed the whole third place thing. I think Draynor Village is my favorite third place. Barbarian Village is my second favorite, mainly because I enjoy woodcutting more than fishing. My third favorite place, I would say, is the Grand Exchange, even though there's like 8 million spam bots. But, you know, there's some good conversations to be had, especially when there's some motherfucker making a forestry campfire, so you could sit around the campfire and just chill out and socialize. Like, dude, I basically play this game like VR Chat or Habba Hotel or something. Yeah, I don't play RuneScape like most people do. The bossing, yeah, I'm good, man. Questing, yeah, fuck that shit. I'm here to watch schizos argue. I feel like that's the true meaning of life. Watching people argue in a fucking virtual world. Yeah, I feel like other MMORPGs don't really have a Draynor village-like place or a Grand Exchange-like place. As far as my knowledge goes, anyway. I mean, I tried playing Guild Wars 2, but it didn't really click with me. I've played New World, and although I enjoyed playing that game, I don't think there's a Draynor village-like place. Like, I don't think there's a place where people gather and socialize and talk shit and all that good stuff. I think old school RuneScape has really mastered that formula, and it's literally the only reason why I still play this game to this day. Oh, and that reminds me of this other dude that I met in Draynor Village. This guy, I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're definitely acquainted in a way. Okay, so there's this hardcore Iron Man. His name is Fat Dab 420. Not 0, but like literally the letter O. And there's sort of a running gag that's been going on between us. It's basically me pointing out the fact that he's a hardcore Iron Man. Now, for those who have never played old school RuneScape, Hardcore Iron Man, it's a game mode where you can't trade with other players, and there's a red symbol next to your name. And if you die as a hardcore Iron Man, your status as a hardcore Iron Man gets removed, and your red helmet turns into a grey helmet. There's no actual in-game downsides of it. It's sort of like a prestige sort of thing. So basically, if you see a grey helmet, it basically means, oh, this guy was once a hardcore that died at some point. Well, unless you selected a grey helm Iron Man from the beginning, which I'm not sure why you would do that. But anyway, so that's all you need to know about the hardcore Iron Man game mode. So the running gag between me and Fatadab 420, like I said, it's me pointing out the fact that he's a hardcore Iron Man. It's me saying, Fat Dab 420 is a hardcore Iron Man. This means he hasn't died once. He also cannot trade with other players. This means he's better than you. He's fucking better than all of you. So that's basically what I say to him every time I see him. And you know, I have a habit of creating 8 billion old school RuneScape accounts because I like to experiment with all sorts of account builds, whether I'm making a defense pure, or a strength pure, or even just your run-of-the-mill ranged rune 2-hander pure. So in my many accounts, like whenever I would see him, like whether it's in Draynor or even outside of Draynor, because sometimes I would see him outside of Draynor, like I literally saw him in Al-Kharid one time, and when I saw him in Al-Kharid, I started following him, and I said my usual fucking meme, my usual spiel. Fat Dab 420 is a hardcore Iron Man. This means he hasn't died once, as indicated by his icon. You get what I mean? I was sort of memeing on the guy, and he didn't know who I was at first, but then I had to fucking remind him, yo, dude, it's me. We fucking met in Draynor High School, mate. I'm pretty sure I still have a screenshot of this interaction. If I do, I'll like throw that up on the screen now. So, if you're ever up for it, I implore you to add FatDab420 to your friends list, to message him, FatDab420 is a hardcore Iron Man. This means he hasn't died once, and he also cannot trade with other players. But like, if you do that, could you please just like fuck with him? It'll make me very happy. I guess why I find this shit funny is because a lot of hardcore Iron Men, they consider it a flex. They think it's... I mean, don't get me wrong, if you've progressed in old school RuneScape, especially towards the late game without dying as a hardcore Iron Man, like, I would consider that a notable achievement, but some hardcores, they take it a little bit too far in terms of flexing. So, yeah, I guess that's why I find it funny, that meme that I have going on between me and Fat Dev 420, because I'm sort of, like, when I'm saying that fucking bullshit, like, oh, did you know that Fat Dev 420 is a hardcore Iron Man? And did you know that his symbol is an indicator that he hasn't died once? Like, I guess I find that funny because he himself isn't flexing at all. He's not a fucking narcissist about it. But here I am doing the flexing for him. Like, I'm playing the role of the narcissist for him. I don't know if you guys find that shit funny, but I do. And so does he. The shit isn't malicious at all by any means. Like, he finds this shit funny as fuck as well. Yeah, it just goes to show that the more you play this game, especially in the free-to-play community, which I would argue is more alive than the pay-to-play community, yeah, dude, the more you hang out in World 301, the more you'll realize, oh shit, there's all sorts of regulars that I could recognize and meet, and it's just such a fun community, man. I fucking love Draynor Village and World 301. Because of this alone, I think old school RuneScape is scientifically the greatest MMORPG of all time. It's so fucking funny. Unfortunately, it's not always sunshines and rainbows though. Well, not so much the rainbow part. In fact, there's been a lot of rainbows in old school RuneScape lately. And by that I mean is, well, like most companies these days, whenever June comes around, they unfortunately have a habit of becoming woke. And that's what RuneScape did, man. They hosted a pride parade, and they have been for years. They even have a transgender crown item, among other woke items, and I feel like the word woke has become overused and cringe now, but that's sort of the only word that I do know that sort of describes this demographic. And it's not the fact that they did a Pride March live stream that I have a problem with. It's the fact that I wasn't able to join in time to make swastikas out of fires. I wish I could have done that, but it's unfortunate that I missed out on this opportunity. But I won't let this woke bullshit stop me from enjoying the game. At the end of the day, I love Draynor. So if you've never played old school RuneScape before, I implore you to download RuneLite and just start playing. It's so good. I don't think you can start woodcutting straight out of Tutorial Island, considering you need like level 30 woodcutting just to chop willow trees. So I'll consider making like sort of a free-to-play old school RuneScape tutorial. The things that you need to do in order to experience all of the social aspects of this game, like woodcutting at Draynor Village, or fishing at Barbarian Village, or whatever the hell you want to do, which, to be fair, it doesn't take super long, so if I ever do make this tutorial video, it'll probably be pretty short, which is good, because at least you won't have to grind for like 8,000 hours. So yeah, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching my schizo drunken rant. If you ever do try out old school RuneScape, I hope you appreciate it as much as I do. Anyway, Thank you for watching my gay video. It's over.